We're going to read from The Lasting Impact of Positive Leadership by Stan Toller. Today is December the 15th, 2025. One of my favorite chapters is this right here, Chapter 5, The Power of Courage in Challenging Times. Courage is being scared to death, but saddling up anyways. John Wayne. Okay. Winston Churchill wrote, "Courage is rightly considered the foremost of the virtues. For upon it, all other virtues depend. The most common single quality of leaders is vision. The second most quality of great leader is courage. The courage to bring vision into reality, to take action in the direction of their goals. There are two parts of courage. The first is the courage to begin, to launch, to step out in faith towards your goal with no guarantee of success, with a high probability of loss and temporary failure. The second part of courage is the willingness to endure, to persist, to press on in the face of obstacles, setback, and temporary failure. In both cases, the greatest obstacle are fears of all kinds. Overcome your fears. The greatest fears that most people have are fears of failure, the fear of loss, poverty, or embarrassment. These fears are the greatest blocks to success. Fear of failure paralyzes action, distort emotions, and causes people to hold back or to make excuses for not going ahead. But there are never any guarantees of success at anything or at any level. Failure, especially at the beginning of any new venture, is always possible, if not inevitable. Leaders do not like to fail, but they realize that temporary failure is an essential part of the learning process. Business leaders repeat the mantras: fail fast, learn quickly, try again, and do it, fix it, try it. Successful people fail far more often than other people who are failures do. Failures are so terrified of loss that they try very little or not at all, and achieving nothing as well. They seldom fail because they never take risks. They never try something new where failure is possible. As it happens, top leaders are not improperists or risk takers. They are instead risk avoiders. In the pursuit of profits and business success, the business leader reduces the likelihood of failure by carefully evaluating every detail before they commit money and resources. They learn every detail of the situation or opportunity. They ask, what could possibly go wrong? Then they make sure that those things that could go wrong do not go wrong. Confront your fears. Everyone is afraid at some level. The courageous person is simply the person who acts in spite of their fear. Mark Twain said, "Courage is resistance to fear. Master of fear, not absence of fear. The way to eliminate fear and replace it with the confidence is to confront the fear head on." Glenn Ford, the actor, once said, "If you do not do the thing you fear, the fear controls your life." You develop the quality of courage by deciding exactly what you want, investigating the situation carefully, and taking definite, continuous action in the direction of your goals. The iron quality of success. The second part of courage, the flip side of the willingness to launch, is persistence, the willingness to endure. Once you have launched and taken decisive action towards your goal, you will immediately experience setback, difficulties, and potential failures. This is called the testing time. The persistence test is what nature sends you to see how badly you really want to achieve a goal. Remember, difficulties come not to obstruct, but to instruct, Tony Robbins says. There is no such thing as failure. There are only results. The key to developing persistence is simple but powerful. It is for you to make a decision in advance that no matter what happens, you will never give up. Your ability to pre-program yourself is quite extraordinary by telling yourself, no matter what happens, I will never give up until I succeed. You plant the seeds of persistence that begin to grow deep inside your personality until you need them. Then, when you face the inevitable setbacks or difficulty, your pre-programming will kick in and you will bounce back. Leaders never give up. Most successful attribute their success to the fact that they would never give up in the face of temporary failure, no matter what the temptation. Eventually, through repetition and practice, they develop the habit of unshakable persistence that become a normal and natural part of their character and personality. They simply just never give up. The keys to leadership success have always been two things. First, get started and take the first step. Second, keep going and resolve in advance that you will never give up. Key. Olson Sweet Martin, the founder of Success Magazine and one of the most influential thinkers on success in American history, once said, "The first part of success is to get to it right now. The second part of success is to stick to it right now." Olson said that a person grows in courage by repeatedly doing courageous acts. In that way, courage becomes a habit. When you practice acting courageously, whenever courage is required from you, you will eventually reach the point where you become unstoppable and your success will be guaranteed. Why leaders fail and don't succeed. The story is told of a man who bought his first boat. It was a shiny, new, powerful, and expensive boat. He couldn't wait to launch it and show it off to his friends, but no matter how hard he tried, the boat just would not respond. It was sluggish. It wouldn't plane. He just couldn't maneuver it. He began to look around the boat and to check everything topside. Everything seemed to be working. Seeing his plight, the mechanic from a nearby marina where he bought the boat motored out on him. Soon the mechanic was in the water checking underneath the boat, trying to find the problem. Immediately he surfaced and said to the new boat owner, "I think I spotted the problem. We recommend you take the boat off the trailer before you put it in the water." Publisher and author Michael Hyatt posted the top 10 characteristics of lousy leaders on his highly acclaimed blog. Number 1, they do not have enough confidence to lead at their level. Number 2, they're arrogant, assuming they always know what's best. Number 3, they're disorganized. Number 4, their words and action erode trust, even with their supporters. Number 5, they overpromise and underdeliver. Number 6, they don't articulate a clear vision. Number 7, they don't enroll others in their activities. Number 8, they are not transparent. Number 9, they're blind to what's happening in their own organizations. Number 10, they don't hold people accountable, especially themselves, number 1 of number 10. Learning to recognize and overcome obstacles. I like the story of the executive that had a travel day full of delays and canceled flights on his way to a corporate meeting in Philadelphia. In addition to the wrecked schedule, his luggage had missed the last flight and was on his way to Detroit. It was past midnight when he finally landed and caught the shuttle for a 30-minute ride to the hotel. He checked in and wearily made his way to the elevator. Reaching the 10th floor of the hotel, he began searching for his room key. He was still searching when the elevator door closed. He searched his pocket and then his briefcase, but still couldn't find it. Exhausted, he pushed the elevator button again and made his way to the front desk. "Ma'am," he said to the receptionist, "could you tell me which room I'm in?" "Oh, excuse me." She replied with a smile and then a look of concern. "Why, yes, sir. This is the lobby." Every leader will experience a variation of that kind of day. Leadership isn't just about reaching a destination. It's also about overcoming some frustrating obstacles along the way. How you face your obstacles will determine the impact and duration of your leadership. Main leadership challenges. I think there are at least 4 Main areas of leadership challenges. I will start with number one. So, number one is unfinished work. Practice your whole Practically your whole life has been affected by the theme of finishing what you start. If you're like me, it started in childhood at the breakfast table. Finish your cereal. Maybe the snap and crackle were already reduced to a but you finished it off and made your way to school. The teacher greeted you with a smile or not. You settled at your desk, and before long, you were faced with the question, class, how many of you have completed your reading assignment? Guilty as charged. You carry the guilt home with you and change clothes for some serious playtime. But before you can make your escape, mother asks, did you finish your homework? And on and on and on through college until your career, you are faced with the same line of questioning. There are at least three principles that apply to unfinished work. Principle one: you can do some things better than everything. If you push back from the desk, you might see that some of your work isn't immediately necessary. It may look urgent, but unless it threatens the welfare of your employment or national security, it might be as viable an option for tomorrow as it is for today. Principle number two: some of your work is rooted in perceived rather than real importance. In other words, your work journey might actually be a guilt trip. Your plate may have some table scraps from someone else's plate on it. You're doing work for a friend in need. You're doing work to impress another or yourself. You're doing work for a perceived reward. Principle number three: unfinished work doesn't equal failed work. If it's unfinished, it's simply in the finishing stages. Tomorrow you'll have a second chance to do what you intended to do today. Re-examine its priority in light of your vision. Change your setting. Think about the possibilities and begin again the next day. Okay, number two, unmet expectations. Unmet expectations. I've met a lot of folks who have spent most of their life trying to meet a second-hand standard. Someone sets a bar that has been inherited from another and then expects everyone under or around them to reach that bar. W. Clement Stone wrote, there is little difference in people, but the little difference make a big difference. The little difference is attitude. The big difference is whether it is positive or negative. You were delegated in framing your vision, identifying your objectives, setting your goals, and launching your vision plan. Then out of nowhere, you take a left hook to the chin when a team member fails or a promised funding doesn't happen. You imagine the critics holding up their scorecards, the naysayers whispering their "I told you so," and your public opinion polls hovering in the basement. What's next? Stay the course. Author and Fortune 500 consultant Dr. Peter Horsch wrote, your thoughts determine your feelings, and the emotional energy of feeling is a powerful ally. The instant you succeed in turning a negative to a positive, that negative is going to be its best to reassert itself. After all, it's fighting for its life. But then, so are you, when it is really all up to you which of the two wins. In reality, not all expectations can be met. We are living in a real time, with real-time setbacks and sidetracks. All time, the winds of modern culture can change quicker than you can adjust the sails. Political and economical dangers often loom beneath the surface like sharks with a sweet tooth. The skilled leader will learn to navigate seas by consulting the map, watching the weather, avoiding dangers, making mid-course adjustment. The challenge of meeting expectation calls for making evaluation that includes asking yourself several important questions. First one, how realistic is my primary objective or goal? Does it have a natural explosive built in? Does it really reflect the will of stakeholders? Number two, second, what real or imagined fear am I fighting? In those eyes, will I see disappointment if this vision, cause, or objective is not successful? Bullet point number three. Third, is my expectation realistic? Have I set or borrowed an achievement standard that doesn't reflect personal or corporate resources? Am I reaching further than my funding or staffing? Expectations are moving targets, not fixed. They are situational rather than static. If you don't meet a personal expectation, you have not failed. You have simply been thrust into a creative environment where new ideas are born from adjustment and new goals rise from ashes. Number 3, personal agendas. Last and not least, number 3. It's always interesting to see people unpack their belongings when they arrive for a business meeting. Unpacked items have changed over the years. Once they include a spiral ring notebook, daily planner, and a cross pen, pulled from a leather attached case. Excuse me. Now they may include a tablet, laptop, or smartphone, pulled from over-the-shoulder design canvas carry-all. But one thing remains: everyone is carrying a personal agenda to the meeting, no matter what's on the published agenda. It reminds me of the school board in one town that proposed adding a new chandelier to the principal's office. As soon as the proposal was put to a debate, one of the board members, an elderly man with a hearing problem, angrily stood to his feet and spoke against the project. I just want to go on the record as being totally against this waste of taxpayers' money, he said, pounding his fist on the table for added emphasis. The board members' reaction came as a surprise to the other members. This was the first time their colleague had responded in such a negative and violent way. There was a long period of silence after the speech. Finally, the board chairman politely asked why adding the chandelier would be wasteful. Again, the board member stood and took a resolute stance. Look, the principal only lives a couple miles from the office. If the teachers can drive themselves to work, so can he. In my opinion, he doesn't need a paid chauffeur to drive him to the office. The gentleman evidently needed a new Energizer battery for his hearing aid, or hadn't gotten many of the word power questions right in the Reader's Digest, but it gives a bit of insight into what leaders might face when personal agendas sneak into meeting agendas. How to deal with personal agendas. Okay, first, politely. Honey is better. Okay, first you deal with a person's agenda from a leader standpoint politely. Honey is a better solution than vinegar. A leader's job is always to coat reaction with respect. Kindness is a solvent that soothes friction. Objectively, what can you learn from the implied or expressed better way? Sometimes there is a better way to build the mousetrap. Tactfully, by asking leaders questions, you might discover an improved compromise, a solution that will add productivity without dividing people. Firmly, when all else fails, play the traffic cop and give direction in the firm but in a respectful way. Now, bullet point, focus. Peter Horsch gives the analog of a master archer who was teaching his students archaeology technique. As they prepared to shoot at a distant target, the teacher stopped them and asked what they saw. One described the sky and the landscape around the target. The master told him not to shoot and to put his bow down. The other student said he saw the center of a target and a bullseye. The master archer gave the command to shoot, and that student's arrow flew through the air to the center of the target. Hirsch said the difference between the two students was single mind focuses. 4 common leadership mistakes: hiring too quickly, expecting too much, assuming you're right, failure to delegate. Now, multitasking may be the mantra of the new millennium. If we can't be everywhere at once, we'll use FaceTime. If we can't do everything at once, we'll use robotics. We have more arrows flying, but our percentage of hitting the bullseye are still not hitting. Maybe it's time for an architect lesson, single-minded focus. Here are some ways to bring focus to your leadership. Number one, avoid distraction zones. Obviously, there are some environmental that distract rather than direct. You know them well. It could be the TV room or computer room at your house, or it may be the break room at the office. You know the distraction dangers that lurk in those places, so avoid them when leadership duties call. Reward yourself. Focus should have an added value. Give it one. When you complete all or part of your project, take a break. It may involve food, it may involve golf, and it may include a shopping trip. But whatever the reward, make sure your mind knows you've reached a focused milestone. Number three, put your whole self into this focus. Bring your inner self, your disciplined thinking into the process. Spending time mulling the direction or decision away from the noise and the clutter. Bring your outer self, bring your outer interest into the process, gathering your observation around the culture around you. Watch and listen for a workable solution and note them. Bring your social self. Bring the ideas in advance of your trusted friends or associate into the process. Learn to leave the authority hat at home and take a friend to lunch just to gain from their knowledge or experience. The challenges aren't the champions. You are. When you determine to overcome them with your own best practices or the best practices of others. The job of a leader is to get extraordinary results out of ordinary people. Peter Drucker. This closes this chapter.